Sphinx. The Sontaran. Can't be. You were destroyed in the 13th century. You were blown to smithereens.
You may have seen one of us.
But you're identical. The same ugly...
Identical, yes. The same, no. I am Starr, Field Major Starr, as you would address me, of the Sontaran G3 Military Assessment Survey. And your opinion of my looks is of no interest to my program.
Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 46, the Sontaran Archive.
Nothing witty to say about it, just the Sontaran Archive.
For the glory of the Sontaran Empire, we look back on the Sontaran history.
It's an adversary archive.
Adversary
the
archive.
Sontarans.
It's still an archive of the Sontarans.
That's true.
Sontar. Ha!
Who are you?
Kapla. I'm Keith.
Dude, uncool.
What?
Klingon.
They're totally the Klingon of Doctor Who.
They're not.
No.
Very similar.
Similar, I see.
No.
Aside from being clones, yes.
Who are you?
Oh, me. I'm Sean. I lost my pen.
I'm Glenn. We didn't come up with cool Sontaran names this week. The energy's probably going to be low because I'm tired.
There it is.
And I tore you guys away from watching Walking Dead.
And if Glenn keeps on the cold open, Sean and I stay up really late playing Rock Band.
Now I've got to include the cold open. And bleep Sean's potty
No,
mouth
because
out.
I just explained it.
I apologize for my potty mouth that Glenn's going to bleep out if he includes the cold open.
That's an
This is a
if.
family show. We do mark it clean on the website.
Well, we are clean on
We
the
are.
podcast.
Just not
Sean
for the
didn't
show.
know you were rolling.
When I know you're
Not
you're
for
rolling, I clean it up. When I don't know
best
you're rolling,
stuff
I
when we-
swear like a sailor,
Get the best stuff when we're not rolling.
and I don't do it well. So you'll hear a lot of bleeps in odd places. And you go, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
What do we got in the news this week, guys?
News. I think the big news of the week is the official announcement of the first since, I don't know when, at least since the series came back in 2005, official Doctor Who convention.
Yeah.
The Millennium Center Cardiff will be transformed into a fan's paradise March 24th and 25th, 2012.
Now, the Millennium Center, Cardiff, is not the Millennium Dome, which is in London, but the Millennium Center is the Torchwood Hub, right?
I don't know. Is it?
I have no
Is
idea.
that what the Millennium Center is? I don't know. Look at me disappointed like that. I didn't look that up.
How about this? Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat will be there.
Ooh. So are you ordering your
Yeah.
plane tickets? Because you'll be right back from Galley the month
Yeah,
before
as
that.
soon as we get back from Galley, we'll be turning
turn
around
around,
to leave.
board
to
a
go
plane,
to
and go to the UK.
not this year. No.
Should we start putting a call out for correspondence?
If anybody's going,
Yeah.
Oh, and for that matter, if you're going to Chicago TARDIS, we'd love some correspondence.
Thought we'd finish the news for this before we segued into that, but okay.
Hey, you called that.
you started
You
it.
started that.
That was the best way to segue in.
I think that is Torchwood's hub.
Yeah, oh, it could be.
It is.
now see, that's an added cool
That is
factor
cool.
to be there.
You could walk across the street to Torchwood's hub. It's across the street, but
The hub is across the street? I thought the hub was under the street.
under across the street. The entrance is under across the street.
Ah.
Doesn't that look right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's totally it. That's because that's the
The little open
sign
area.
thing.
yeah.
the courtyard type thing.
Is that all in Welsh? Or not Welsh?
Cardiff.
No, Wales or whatever they. What do they speak in Wales?
It's in
like
Cardiff.
Welsh. That's what I was looking for. Is that you know that
They
wall?
do speak Welsh in Wales.
Yeah, you know all that wall that has the writing on it, and I never can. I always mean I want to stop
the one
it.
in Torchwood.
Yeah, I always want to stop it and read it, but I
That's
think
what
it's in
that
Welsh.
is. That's the Millennium
I
Center.
know. That's what I'm saying. Is it's the wall that's in Millennium Center? Is that Welsh?
Yeah, it says Blythe Droog.
It does.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, what are you getting after me for not knowing where Millennium Center is?
Maybe it says
you don't know if the wall's in Welsh.
because
Come
you-
on.
Maybe
You're
it
smarter
says
than
Millennium
me.
Center.
Maybe it does say Millennium Center, and I
Hey.
just can't read it.
Phil, let us know.
Yeah. Anybody been in Cardiff? Let us know.
Is
No,
Welsh
that's
really
cool.
a different language?
Yeah, I think it's a.
I thought it was just an
is.
accent.
No.
Maybe it's
Welsh
in
is a
Gaelic.
language because, Phil, you're going to be right.
Yeah,
in this week.
you know what? Let's just don't
No,
go there.
it's-
Don't go
it's-
there.
start.
It is.
Just
I
let-
believe it is a Scandinavian, some Scandinavian language that's like blended in with something else to create Welsh. But I'm
How
not
can you
entirely sure.
possibly know that, but not know if the Millennium Center is in Cardiff?
I don't know.
I'm going to call shenanigans on you right now.
No, I think back.
I think
in the,
you know what I think it is. I think you make stuff up,
I think
and we
I
go along
think
with it because we
Wales
think
was-
you know what you're
Wales
talking about.
Was actually like,
that?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that.
Does it actually say something?
I'm sure it does, but
Well,
not in
it
English.
is in Welsh. It is in Welsh. All right, see. Here's
It
the
doesn't
thing.
say that it's in Welsh.
I don't know that that's Welsh, but it's but it's something you can't pronounce, right? It's not actual English.
In these.
I read in these. I can see horizon,
Okay, then it probably is in English. I just
but
never have
then
read.
but then
What's
there's
GWYDR?
Maybe there are some Welsh in there. I don't know.
Maybe it's a combination
Well,
of words.
it could be. What I'm saying is,
Phil,
I
write in and
think
let us
they
know.
were invaded at one time, or the first people that came to Wales were actually Scandinavian. I'm not sure, but I think that's right.
I think
If
you're
anybody
I
knows,
think
send
you're
us feedback.
I think you're confusing
I could go
London.
to Wikipedia right now.
I think you're confusing London with America.
No. No. Back
All
in
of
the
America.
Anglo-Saxon,
North America.
Back
all of
in
North America with London.
back in the Anglo-Saxon days, at the time of what king was it that the I want to say that
There were Scandinavians
Why
here.
are you even going here? You
were
know you don't have the
Scandinavians
answer.
here
You're
before.
saying, what king was it? And we're going to go, Edward?
William
and then
the
we're going to
First.
get angry calls.
we
We don't know
Correct
this.
all of this to Glenn at
at
travelingthevortex.com.
I could just wiki the dang thing.
Or we could just move on and let someone write in and let us know.
Oh, this is a sticker.
What is a stick? Yeah, you put it on your
I
keyboard.
just thought it was a-
Sean has
like
a
a
panic
wooden
button.
button.
In his hand that looks like a computer key, and it says "panic" across it. He just now realized
It's a
that it's an
sticker.
adhesive. It's
adhesive.
adhesive.
No, you need to write on the top. Don't. Our other bit of news.
That was a gift from Kara, who knitted me my scarf. She said, I saw that in the store and thought of you. And I'm not quite sure what that means, but I'm going to take it as a good thing, because I like to push panic buttons.
Another bit of news is the children need Doctor Who time slots. It will be sometime in the 8 and 8:30 time period for Children of Need.
Which is exciting because I don't think has there been a year without since the return in 2005. Has there been a year that you can recall that did not have a Children in Need special? That's something during Children in Need.
The first year was the regeneration snippet with Eccleston to Tennant.
Mhm.
The second year was a
An
preview.
exclusive treat from Doctor Who.
The third year was Time Crash. The fourth year was a preview. And I don't remember what they did. Oh, the fifth year, no, that was Red Nose Day special. I don't remember what they did last
I
year.
think
for
they
Max
did
Snow.
preview.
What they did.
I think they did
it was a
another
preview
preview.
as well. Yeah.
A Christmas Carol preview, and I'm going to put money on the table saying that this is going to be a Christmas preview also.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
It's in the same slot as last year, so it's kind of cool. But for those of us that don't get Children in Need, not as cool.
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah. But they always put it up on the website because they're
Yeah.
also soliciting money that way. So we
But
get.
but the time slot won't matter to me.
Well, that's true. But
because I can watch it any time.
yeah,
once
it will
goes
have
online.
aired long before we get it anyway.
Is
But
this
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxon time, 8:30?
yes, it is UK time.
Are you sure it's UK? It's not the weird invaders from
No, it's not.
Norway or wherever you were postulating that
And it's not Central Daylight because we're no longer in daylight savings.
it's a King Edward time.
I'm looking up where the it's the Saxons. Yeah, the Saxons.
And something else that's cool that none of us will get to do.
Harold. He was
Harold.
an invader.
Yeah.
Harold Saxon.
Apparently, it wasn't the
Wasn't it Harold?
Danes though.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Well, you are, just not for that
Well.
reason. Another bit
Never
of
committed.
news. The last bit of news. I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested.
All right, Sheldon.
We're all over the map tonight.
The last bit of news for those in
It's a big blank map. It says Millennium Center ? We don't know. What else is in the news, Keith?
Oh,
Although-
hey, Sean's right. Not Sean. Keith's right. It was Celtic languages that have formulated the Welsh.
So now why don't you Google or Wikipedia the writing at the Millennium Center in Cardiff and find out what it says?
Oh, yeah. Well, here, I'm
You know
I'm
what?
on the
I
Wales.
bet it has the English word than the Gaelic word.
You
English.
think so? I don't know
Yeah.
that it's Gaelic. It's Welsh. It is actually Welsh because it's not all like Celtic or Gaelic language. It's
This should have totally been. Anyways,
Let's just open the show now. Do it.
3, 2, 1.
all right.
We've
so we
joined
covered
the-
everything, right?
No.
We've covered.
Well,
Wait, I have one more,
He's
Mr.
got one-
Interrupted.
Oh, you're Shada, yeah. What do you mean? I've been over here quiet the whole time.
But as I keep trying, you start up with, well, blah, blah, blah. For those also
Oh, there's
living
also some
in the UK, November 23rd,
Is that Welsh?
we'll see
Blah,
the,
blah, blah, blah.
that is. We'll see the world premiere of Chris Chapman's new documentary, Taken Out of Time, which looks back on the 1979 Doctor Who story, Shut Up. So if anybody gets to
Did
go...
you just say Shory?
Shory?
He said
Shory,
The
shut
Doctor
up.
Who Shory.
Shory, shut up.
Welcome to Traveling the Vortex, where we're all speaking Welsh. With a shory.
I'm sure that's not Welsh.
It's going to be screened at a one-day event called Visions from Behind the Sofa, Doctor Who, taking place at the University of Hertfordshire.
Is that in Cardiff?
I have no idea, and I'm not going to look it
Good are you to me?
up. We got that info from Blogter Who, so
You know what I really like to envision?
it's on our website, and if anybody's going to go, send in a report.
What I really like to envision right now is that these people that do live overseas and live in England and listen to the podcast are all furiously going for pads of paper and pencils so that they can start writing down answers to all these questions. And they've already filled up like 4 notebooks on the first, we're not even 10 minutes into the show.
Yep.
So,
Sadly,
We're gonna
that's
get a
true.
novel.
except for
from
Phil, who's probably driving or flying
Yeah.
somewhere. And he's rolling in his seat right now going, I can't write this down.
I can't write that fast.
Okay, so once again in the news, we've got official Doctor Who convention.
Yes.
Which I think is very cool.
We've got Children in Need,
Yes.
and we've got
The world premiere.
world premiere of the Shada documentary.
Yep. Links
Is
to
that
all
gonna-
those are on our website.
Is that going to
If
be
you want
released
more information
worldwide?
on any of those?
I read somewhere, I think it was at the end of that article, that they said they were going to release that on DVD in a 2-pack with the 30 Years in the TARDIS documentary. I thought.
You read more than I did.
That'd be cool.
Or maybe I saw it on Twitter. I saw that somewhere.
You
and
read
I-
more than I did because
Could
I only
be.
read our website.
I got
Well,
very
I
excited
didn't have the whole
because
thing on our website. You actually have to go to
Blogter Who.
Blogter Who in order to get the rest of it. Credit where credit's due.
Well-
I got excited because I've seen bits and pieces of the 30 Years in the TARDIS special. In fact, we used to have it on VHS when I worked at Suncoast.
Oh, is that
I want
right?
to say that we sold it
Oh, wow.
back in the day.
Cool.
Back when we had VHS.
You sold it or
The
you
day.
had it in stock?
We carried it in stock. I don't recall ever actually selling one.
It was for sale.
Although I did personally.
Sorry, I'm sure you didn't. I'm surprised you didn't buy it.
I did buy the.
Although you probably watched it enough times in the shore that you
No, I never.
In the
I-
shore!
in the shore. I never
More
got
Welsh?
permission
I
to
don't
open
know.
it. But I did own the Tom Baker years VHS documentary, which I never watched.
I think I didn't watch
I
any
remember
of the
seeing that
VHS
on your
you had.
shelf.
My shelf
Well, shelf's right. when
made you question it.
when
didn't
you shown it.
I? When I showed
Where is it now? By the way, did you? Is
it
that one
was
of
on
the ones you said?
VHS. It's long gone.
Oh, Sean,
I only have.
I only get rid of my VHS stuff when I replace them. On DVD.
I have 4. What is that? 6, 8.
Don't forget the
I can't
three
believe you're
over
holding
here.
on to the X-Files crud over there on your shelf in
X-Files
VHS.
crud?
Right over down there.
Those
isn't
are
it?
DVDs.
Oh, those are DVDs. That one, they're like the size of a.
No,
they're
they're
almost
not.
the
No, they're
exact
not.
size, like width anyway. I can't see the
You're
top.
just distorted angle.
Oh, must be. They're down behind me somewhere.
Those are. And I have the Doctor Who movies. That's
And
the
Unearthly
extent of
Child.
my
An Unearthly Child.
and Unearthly Child. That's the extent of my VHS anymore.
Okay, I'll give you that. Let's move on to feedback.
Feedback for those that follow us on Twitter, you might have seen that.
Do not spit. Do not spit that at me. He's trying to hold back a laugh after he drank.
I'm okay.
Quit laughing at the wrong time.
Well, I was going to talk about the other videos that I do have, but then I decided not to.
This is a family
This
show.
is a family show, Sean. Moving on before we get ourselves in more trouble.
Those that follow us on Twitter know that we had some email issues, and last week some emails got, as Chrissy called them, eaten by the gremlins.
Shall we talk about why we had email problems? Because I like calling that out.
I didn't realize I needed to go to the webmail server to clear it out.
Oh, keeper of the feedback.
Hey, I was keeping track of the feedback. Keeper of the feedback does not imply deleting of the feedback. Keeping and deleting are kind of contrary terms.
I suppose in defense, he is 100% accurate on that, because the keeper of the feedback would not delete the feedback. He just keeps it.
I'm keeping it.
So he archived almost a full year worth of feedback
on
the
an
server.
entirely different site. No, he wasn't even archiving it on the right site. He was archiving everything that was forwarded to him.
No, because it doesn't.
Oh, those he was deleting.
I don't like forwards.
Yeah. Anyway, we goofed, and after about the third person who went, "Hey, how come your mailbox is full?" We were like, "Huh, that sounds like a problem."
Well, no, it was Dr. Phil tweeted us and was like, "Hey, I can't send in feedback. It says it's full," which he got the bounce back because he wasn't doing it through the website. Whereas Chrissy did it through the website, she didn't get a bounce back.
Oh, so it didn't give her an indication.
It didn't give
at
her
all
the
that it
indication.
bounced. Okay.
So that's why she was like, "Hey, where was my feedback?"
So is that something we should talk to Matt about seriously as an IT person, that maybe we need to put a bounce back in there, or are we just going to dedicate ourselves to being much more vigilant
Well,
about deleting the archives?
now that Keith knows
Now
that
that I
he has to
realize it.
actually go to the source to delete the emails. Or
Okay.
archive it or whatever he wants to do.
As long as we can say that problem's been rectified.
The problem
The
has
problem has been
rectified.
rectified.
It is fixed.
But
Mail travels into our hands again.
and my Gmail is set up where I don't see my spam folder.
Oh,
It's-
that's right.
it's
You had
hidden.
something go to spam,
Oh, that's
too.
the other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and for some reason, one of Holly from Wisconsin, emails from October 22nd.
Wouldn't that have been our Torchwood show?
That would have been before our Torchwood Season 2 episode.
Well, we would have read it out on our Torchwood.
We would have read this feedback out. But I found it, I recovered it, and now we shall deliver Holly's lost feedback.
Don't even try to make yourself sound cool at
You
this
know,
point.
what we ought to do is we ought to let some of these go lost, and then recover them, and then we'll have a lost feedback show. The lost feedback. We'll just read stuff out, and people won't know what it's in relation to it anyway.
The way this was going
It's better
earlier
than a
in the
clip
week,
show.
I honestly thought that's where we were going. I was like, man, we're going to have like 6 hours of feedback to read on this.
Anyways, Holly says, "Hey guys, just wanted to give my thoughts on Torchwood Series 2.
Technically, it doesn't Holly says, it'd be Holly said.
Shut up, Sean. Regardless, then that's for every single bit of feedback.
No, because we'd be current on all of them.
But they still previously said
quit nitpicking and read the feedback.
it. He wants to nitpick. I'm going to
Wow.
make sure he's correct.
I'm just being Mr. Interrupt. Just leave me alone.
Series 2 is a lot better than Series 1. Loved Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. James Marsters as Captain John Hart was perfect casting. Plus, you get a blowfish in the opening sequence. Sleeper was an okay episode. To the Last Man was a great Tosh episode. Meat was okay. Adam turned out to be a better episode than I actually thought the first time I watched it. I like it more now than I did then. Then we get the return of Martha for resets and Dead Man Walking. Oh, and then having to come to grips with being the living dead. Then the wedding of Gwen and Reese with a couple of bumps along the way. From Out of the Rain was the good episode. The costuming was great, and we learn a little bit more about Jack's past and his dealings with the Night Travelers. Adrift, with the missing teens and Gwen finding out what really happened, makes you think that sometimes knowing the truth can be worse than just believing your loved one is missing. Fragments, we get to find out how Tosh, Owen, and Ianto joined up for Torchwood. I wish they could have aired this episode earlier in the season. And then the last episode of the series, the return of Captain Hart and Jack's brother, and they both want revenge, and we mourn the loss of Tosh and Owen. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts and reactions on this series. Holly from Wisconsin. Well, Holly, I hope you enjoyed
No. We're going to do it all over again, starting with...
I hope you enjoyed our thoughts on...
And Sean won't remember him
I still don't remember them. And Chrissy right now is going, no! Pulling her hair out.
We've decided to delay this week's Sontaran Archive.
Not completely inaccurate.
Again, our apologies, Holly, for,
Yes, for
losing your email and
that was my fault for not checking my spam.
not allowing you your 2 cents worth there.
Which,
so.
that was only 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, yeah. It's only been
Only.
floating around out there for 3 weeks.
So,
And ironically, she was right on with pretty much what we were
Yeah,
doing.
it's funny that
It's
none of
really-
us had read that beforehand, and sure enough, that's
It
that's
just
where we went with
completely
that.
echoed what our sentiments were.
although she liked...
Well, your sentiments, I didn't remember them. But
What you,
she liked a couple more than
quali-
I did. But
She's qualifying our remarks. Is what she's doing.
yeah,
it's always, you're right. It's always nice to be proven right.
Yeah.
Holly also submitted her list for the top 5
Yeah.
on our website, and she says
Now this hasn't been lost. This actually
no,
she posted
this was
this week
she
in
posted
response
3 days
to,
ago.
And this is an ongoing thing for those of you who may be just recently joining us. We've been talking about if you were going to introduce a viewer of Doctor Who is familiar with the new series, and you had 5 episodes of the old classics to introduce them to, which 5 would you use to introduce them to the entire back history of Doctor Who? What are your 5?
Or what would get them
you would think
hooked.
would get him hooked. Yeah.
Not necessarily your top 5 episodes, but just the 5 that you think this is what a new viewer needs to see.
Her list, in no particular order, is The 5 Doctors, Doctor Who the Movie, The Deadly Assassin, An Unearthly Child, and she put parentheses episode 1, so apparently she's in Chrissy's boat with that one, and The Caves of Adrazzani.
Wow. Sensing a lot of repeats out there.
So, yeah, some repeats.
And if you have a list that you'd like to get to us, you can send that to feedback at, I don't even know what it is.
Feedback at travelingthevortex.com,
Thank
or you
you.
can just visit travelingthevortex.com and find all your contact information there for all your contact needs. Unless you need contacts, and then we can't help you.
No visual aids here.
We're going to get mail. You understand that, right?
You already get spam.
We're gonna get spam.
We're gonna get-
You're not in the
We're not
contacts
in
and
the
eyeglasses
contacts and
directory.
eyeglasses directory. I forgot to tell you guys, we got mail.
Physical mail?
Physical
We
mail.
got invited to the. I don't even remember what it is now. I wish I had it with me because I think I left it at Mel's. It's an invite to the whatever Topeka chapter organization of how to use Facebook and Twitter and online media presences.
Are they asking us to host it?
No, they just said you can.
Then they're in dire straits. They're asking us to host.
We should host the Oscars this year.
That sounds good to me. Eddie
Let's-
Murphy
let's-
dropped out.
Yeah, but it's an opening. We should do that.
Crystal.
Billy
stepped
Crystal's in.
Yeah. Billy Crystal's going to do it.
Oh well, he'll be all right.
Oh, he'll be great. Oh, I can't believe everybody's so lukewarm with Billy Crystal.
It's
now.
because we've seen him
There
so
hasn't
many
been
times.
a good host
Don't
since
even go
Billy
there.
Crystal
No,
left
Steve
the
Martin
Oscars.
was great.
No, he was
Yes,
not.
No,
he was.
Alec Baldwin was great. Steve Martin was
No,
kinda
he's
flat.
talking about.
I'm talking
when
about the
Martin
original
did it.
2001
Yeah,
Steve
so he
Martin.
did it. No,
he was
that
great.
was not
He
done
was
well.
great. He was great.
David Letterman was horrible. The only one that
Letterman
I
was
think has
horrible.
done a decent job since was Hugh Jackman, and that's because they took a whole different approach with it. So,
I think most
I
Def
thought Hugh
should
Jackman
host
was
it.
good.
Most Def.
Most Def should host. Well, I'd be all right with Most Def. That'd be a
I
different.
think it'd be
approach.
awesome.
Anyway, well, as we digress,
Tangents
Anyway,
alert.
so it's a conference, and you have to pay like $500 for them to show you how you can market your business through Twitter or Facebook, which obviously we're not interested in because I think.
they want us to come just be involved. They don't want like any
Yeah,
like,
no,
panelists.
no,
or
we're not
well,
panelists. or anything
Forget
like
that.
But
Get outta here.
but it was addressed. This is the weird thing. It came. I have no idea how they got it, but it came to our address here, and it was addressed to Traveling the Vortex.
Probably
it was your
on
business
the,
cards.
Business cards, yeah. Handing out business cards.
I bet they got it from the order, from the company that you ordered the
I bet
business
you're
card.
right. I'll bet Vistaprint sold our information.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when we get cheap business cards.
If anybody out there is listening and prints business cards, like professionally, and you happen to think, I'd like to do these guys a favor, you can find us on the contact page.
On travelingthevortex.com.
What else we got?
Next bit of feedback.
Not
is
above asking for free stuff.
No, I know, John.
another bit of audio feedback coming in from Dr. Phil.
Defenders and protectors of the Vortex. Hey, it's Dr. Phil, and yes, that is a real voice. I did not treat it in any way. Just a couple thoughts based on your Voyage of the Damned, and yes, I'm driving in my car again. Don't worry, I'll be extra safe. Nonetheless, I wanted to point out that you were talking about...
Phil?
Phil?
Phil, you there?
Oh, no.
Oh my God, he crashed.
This is terrible. Oh my gosh.
Why? Why would you do that? I told you not to drive and record feedback at the same time.
Now this podcast can be referred to as So Awesome It Once Killed a Dude. As Sean tweeted to Phil.
Podcast
As a
rocked
warning.
so hard someone died listening to it. Okay, no. Phil, our apologies. We're trying to listen to this
This is not our
thing.
week for feedback.
No, we're trying to listen to this thing, and it just
last
cuts
week
out.
wasn't either.
We believe that the file was corrupted. We apologize. You'll need to resend because it just ends where you heard it end. So our apologies that we don't get to hear Phil's feedback this week. We're going to have to delay it for another week. So, Phil, if you've still got that file, try to resend that to us because we're not sure what's wrong.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a long piece of feedback, but once
we
it gets to a
see
certain
them.
point in the progress bar, it just cuts out. We don't have anything. So, but we thought we'd have some fun at your expense. So, we
always-
apologize, Phil. We appreciate your feedback. We wouldn't cut you off for the sake of a joke. It was actually cut off. So.
Yes.
Oh, we would cut him off for the sake of the joke.
Well,
Well, you guys would cut him off because you're Mr. Interruptus.
oh, now
Quiet you.
we did not interrupt him that time. Anyway, yeah, Phil, go ahead and resend that if you've still got it. We apologize. We like to hear what you have to say. You always have some very insightful comments. So
I was impressed with the voice changer.
yeah, that
Oh, yeah, that was really
It
cool.
wasn't even a voice changer. It was really his voice. So anyway, that might be an open for one of our shows.
Well, next on the low-tech feedback route that apparently did get to
Is it
us.
all there?
Let me scroll to the bottom of the page. Yeah, it looks like we're good.
All right.
This comes from Chrissy, who titled it "Avoiding the Gremlins." Where's my open?
It doesn't say.
It doesn't say
comment
it.
question.
It doesn't say comment question.
What does it say
It says "Dear Vortex Boys."
in the subject line?
It says Chrissy Johnson to feedback.
Ah. She deleted that on purpose. I better take this out. Sean will read it.
Oh, well. Dear Vortex Boys, since my feedback from last week got ambushed by the feedback-eating gremlins, I'll just have to mix it in with feedback for this week. Hope this isn't too long for your attention spans. Though I will understand.
Well, we've got a lot of time now because Phil's didn't make it all the way through.
Though I will understand if you three Mr. Interruptuses
Hey, it's
can't
those
hold
two.
back your tangent-induced discussions. I hope this goes through. I've never used this email to send in feedback before.
That's probably why she sent it through a different
She
email.
didn't go to our website to submit it.
She just
this
did
time
feedback at
in
Traveling
fear
the
that it
Vortex.
wouldn't come through.
I'm feeling really out of touch without it being
Just say comment question.
comment question.
Better?
No. I enjoyed your
Nothing
doctor.
ever
You what?
Nothing ever pleases you.
No, nothing does. I enjoyed your Doctor Who Halloween horror discussion. It was fun to hear you inject Scorby into every topic. Well, the topics had to do with Seeds of Doom anyway. I think we're going to talk about him tonight.
Scorby!
My favorite of the three was Brain of Morbius because Sarah Jane kicks so much butt, and the story was the most concise, I thought, of the three you reviewed. Phil, I have to commend you for your recommendation of The Mark of the Rani. That is one of my favorite Colin Baker stories, and it's among my favorite Doctor Who stories, period. I would have put it in my top list for newbies, but that one didn't quite make the cut, but it is a great choice. Sean, I did finally finish The Sudden Awakening, Lonely Life, and Tragic End of Cyberman Bob. Very fun, heartfelt, and I love the George Lucas's references in there.
Have you read it yet, Glenn?
I won't discuss specifics since other listeners
And co-hosts.
might not have read it yet, and I don't want to spoil it for them. But job well done, and I look forward to your Scorby short story efforts in the future. Chrissy, I apologize.
By the time he finishes writing that one, I'll have read the other.
Yeah, I apologize that you actually slogged your way all the way through that one. So.
Hey, I enjoyed it.
Eh,
I just had to break it up in 3 readings. Like a novel. It's nice of you to put chapter breaks in your novellas.
I do.
Which is
occasionally-
great, because it takes 3 months for Keith to read a novel. So
Yeah, because I just finished the second Harry Potter book.
I do occasionally get diarrhea of the keyboard. I guess it's good that this part of the feedback got delayed to the week you're doing the Sontaran Archive. It deals with the Rutons, and they
Serendipity.
sometimes go hand in tentacle with the Sontarans. I was glad to finally see what a Ruton looked like in Horror Fang Rock, because they have been featured in some Big Finish stories. During your discussion of Horror Fang Rock, you guys were wondering how Rutons fight and control their ships and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure, but in one of the Big Finish stories with the Rutons, they're portrayed as body snatcher type aliens that took over people, and they could fight that way. I thought that was right, but your uncertainty kind of makes me think maybe I'm not. Please correct me if I'm completely off track with this. Help me out here. I'm only slightly higher than Keith in my novice status, after all.
I guess. Go ahead.
Although I've already credited the death of my doctor twice.
So she's a rank above me. 2 ranks. That's twice.
You haven't lost yours yet.
I guess she brings up a good point, since it at least hijacks the several people in Horror Fang Rock.
Well, and he in Horror they make the comment that he is an advanced scout, and the infiltration technology is relatively new, or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact line. The Ruton says this to the Doctor. So I kind of always got the impression that not all of the Rutons had the body snatching ability, that it was only a select, the infiltration corps, or the spies would go out and do that, and that the rest of them were just, blobs and spheres. But
you'd probably know if we actually got to Shakedown this week, but
we'll discuss that later.
We'll explain later.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to starting Series 4. This is my favorite New Who season thus far. Not to bias Keith or anything. And I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on it.
6.
Just to give my thoughts on episodes reviewed so far. Voyage of the Damned is all right. Not my favorite Christmas special, but I'm glad they got the mediocrity out of the way at that point. I'm not even going to go there.
That's a promise.
Partners in Crime is one of the best RTD-era episodes, not just for the miming scene, although that is hilarious. Donna's a fantastic companion. She's such a great contrast from Rose and Martha. Fires of Pompeii is another favorite because of the wonderful chemistry between David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and it's a great story. It's even more fun because the Doctor has referenced Pompeii in another time-traveling adventures, and we finally get to see how he'd handle that event. And mad props, in all capital letters, to Catherine Tate for her acting. I'd never seen her in anything before Doctor Who, and I was surprised to find out that she had a comedy sketch show. She's a great actress, and she can pretty much do anything, as the last scene in Pompeii shows. Speaking of Donna, it's interesting that you compared Donna in Fires of Pompeii to Barbara in the Aztecs. I read an article once where RTD said he thought that if Barbara were being written today, she would be similar to Donna in personality and character, and that's what he was going for. Well, it's time for me to send off this bit of feedback. Hopefully it doesn't take its time walking 500 miles to fall down at your door. I still have that song stuck in my head after a week. Wasn't that video the greatest thing ever? Chrissy. P.S. Ahem. Nitpick alert.
Uh-oh.
Alonzi Alonso was first introduced in Army of Ghosts, which was an RTD penned episode. Incidentally, that's also the first time the 10th Doctor actually used what became his trademark catchphrase.
it's
Alonzi?
as soon as she said that, I remembered the scene specifically.
I
It's
do.
when he's
I do
out
too.
setting up the triangulation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And he's got the 3D glasses on, and he's seeing the the residue. So I remembered that after she wrote that.
I thought they were in the TARDIS when he says has that whole
Might be,
spiel
but I think it's when
about
they're running.
Alonso.
I think when he's running in and out.
He might have said
yeah.
Alonso before that, but I think the spiel about Alonso was in the TARDIS in that episode.
Could be.
I just couldn't remember which episode it was.
Once again, Chrissy's keeping us on our toes and correcting our mistakes, and we thank her very much for that because, well, we make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and this is just for you, Chrissy. We're going to do this just for you.
Everybody else, turn off your speakers.
Score
me! Okay, that's enough of that.
Our last bit of feedback is going to be a large tangent.
Oh, so he's giving it to me.
Oh, well, then let me sneak two more small ones in.
Well, this is
Well, your small ones
This
can get
isn't
us back
large.
on topic.
yeah. This isn't large.
Okay.
Let's
wait.
go ahead and read this one out. This is from Mark Lee, and Mark writes,
Mark.
and this is in the subject line. Comment? No,
You suck so much.
no. This is. It says Star Wars. Da da da. Oh, it's the song. Star Wars. Da da da. Star Wars. I guess I don't know. It says da da da. No.
I don't think that translates well in
Star
text.
Wars. Da da da. Star Wars. Is
Okay,
that it?
there you go. Now it works.
Okay, Bill Murray.
Okay. I was trying to get there. I didn't get there right away. Mark writes.
With most things on this show.
Or perhaps it's Mark wrote. Hi, guys. I just thought I'd say that I did consider Googling the answers for those Star Wars questions. Fortunately, I decided against it as I had watched A New Hope twice already and was determined to find the answers. An hour or so after sending the email to you guys, I ran into a good friend and avid Star Wars fan. I then discussed the questions and my answers with him, and he told me all of the correct answers. So, if I had waited an hour before sending you guys an email, then I would have got 3 out of 3. But I guess it's more fun to rewatch the movies, right?
That's right.
I got to interrupt here. So, this is a good friend of yours and a Star Wars fan.
He's not a good friend.
He's not a good friend if he has not made you watch these movies before now. You need to drop this guy like a hot potato because he's no good for you, I'm telling you.
That's all right. He's a good friend of ours, and we made him watch Star Wars, or at least enticed him to watch Star Wars.
That's right.
He goes on to write, just a quick update to say that I am still watching The Empire Strikes Back. I will finish it. But I've been hooked on these 2 British TV shows, Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes, and they have taken up most of my time. Oh, and one last thing. I really like the new format of the episodes. The idea of keeping in the, what I presume is to be a mic test, was brilliant. Thanks for reading, and keep on doing a brilliant job. From Mark McMarmite. Well, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, and let us know when you get through Empire, because we've got 3 more questions for you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to throw a cravat out there now so that you guys aren't putting a whole lot of effort into this. We gave Mark, in my opinion, 3 relatively difficult questions for Star Wars.
No, I think we qualified that last week. Yeah.
Because they are all name-based.
Yes, they are.
So I want you guys to develop questions for Empire that don't have anything to do with names of planets or
Sounds
characters or any of that nonsense.
Well, I'm going to do Luke Gunner, so
That's a name.
I know, but
We
since
could have
we've
one
dropped the end twice now.
Well, and you've given the answer.
What?
You already gave the answer last
What?
week.
What?
Yeah.
Would I do that?
Yeah.
Probably.
Great. Now he's
You're
got to go.
horrible with spoilers.
Now he's got to go back and slog through 2 hours of podcast to find the answer to that one.
That's almost punishment.
Go away. All right. Well, I have an. Can I go now?
You can go now.
I have an additional piece
Unless
of
we have
feedback.
more to talk about Mark's email.
No, I don't believe so. I'm glad that he's going through it. And
I've heard Life on Mars is
I
good.
have too. I actually started watching Life on Mars, and that was one that I got sidetracked on from something else. So, and Ashes to Ashes, I believe, is the 2nd season.
I've never heard of that.
So I think either that or it's by the same guy, or it actually. I think they both for sure have John
And
Sims. in it.
I say the Master's in that one, right?
Yeah. So John Sims is in both of them. But,
Oh, he's in both of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I don't know if
I didn't know he
they're
was in-
sequels to each other. Like I think one season is Life on Mars, the next series was Ashes to Ashes. So
Really?
again, there
Which
is
is ironic
information out there that
because-
I haven't studied on. But
that really makes me
Based
wonder.
off
'Cause
the premise. I
I know the
understand that.
premise that Life on Mars is about the cop who wakes up. He was in the 70s, and all of a sudden he's in present day.
No,
no,
reverse
he was
that.
in
Or is it
present
reversed?
day.
He's in present day and he wakes up in the
1970s.
Strike
And
that,
meets his
reverse it.
dad, as a matter of fact. So
And the ironic part of this is that it doesn't have anything to do with Mars. It's just
Right,
a clever play on the situation.
Afraid.
Well,
But-
it's a clever play on a David Bowie song.
Well, that's because
Ashes to
Ashes
Ashes
is a David Bowie
song as well.
The
I
Ashes to
hadn't thought of
Ashes
that.
is a
That
sequel
just
to
hit
Space
me.
Oddity.
That just hit me. I'll be darned.
Isn't that interesting? It's a little serendipity or something there. Anyway, I have some feedback from my friend Phil, not Dr. Phil.
Well,
And not Phil.
Life on Mars
From
actually
Facebook.
ties into Doctor Who as well, which we'll get to when we get to the specials.
Yes, it does.
You remembered Bowie Base.
I do remember Bowie Base. How could I forget Bowie Base?
Bowie Base?
Bowie Base 1. Here. I get texts every now and then from my friend Phil in Kansas City who's playing catch-up on the podcast. This is a short one that came in on Monday. It says, your lack of knowledge regarding British royalty actually caused me physical pain.
We never claimed to be
This
experts.
isn't Phil Burkett. This is
This is Phil Tivis.
Phil Tivis,
my
your friend. Your Phil.
Your
Friend
lack
Phil.
of knowledge regarding British
Not that,
royalty
Phil
actually
Burkett's not our
caused
friend.
me
He is our friend.
He
physical
is,
pain.
And
it's funny you said that because my exact reply to him was, I never claim to be an expert, and you'll notice I shy away from conversations about which I know nothing.
No, he asks me about them, and then I try and get them wrong too.
you're
so.
the giant Anglophile.
You know what? There's not.
That's
not,
why I ask you. You claim to know this stuff.
No, I don't
You
claim,
claim
to
to
know
be an
this stuff. I am an Anglophile to an extent. There are parts of. There's a lot. There's a lot.
You're not familiar with geography?
There's a lot of information there. I know geography. I don't know the.
Anglo-geography you apparently
know.
don't know.
Why not?
You don't know that the Millennium Center's in Cardiff.
Well, okay. That's not exactly geography, but okay.
That is geography.
Yeah.
Geography.
Same thing.
He sent me another one, which I presume is from a different podcast because it's been so long now I don't remember where these came from. But his comment is, I think if I was ever one of the Doctor's companions and he asked me where I wanted to go,
Oh, I
that
remember
was a
that
long
question.
time
it was
ago,
a long
yeah.
time. So you remember how long
It's back
we
at the
are.
old studio.
No, I thought it was still at the studio.
No, it's back at the old studio.
If he ever asked me where I wanted to go, I'd say Worlds of Fun in the early to mid 80s, Zambezi Zinger for the win.
Good one, Phil. Good one.
Very nice.
So,
Terrific. I love it.
tie that back into that.
Zambezi Zinger. Absolutely. All right. Well, news and feedback's out of the way. Sean didn't do the feedback jingle this
He
week.
didn't. He
Oh.
tried to do a news jingle, but just
You
didn't.
did?
I
He
tried
tried.
to.
Oh, I missed it.
Emphasis on tried.
Tried. He didn't
Wasn't-
try hard
wasn't very
enough. I
exciting.
didn't even get it. So
Well, Keith was talking. He wouldn't let me interrupt him for the
Oh,
feedback jingle.
That's
So he was bound and determined to plow through that.
what else? What are we doing? What are we talking about this week? I can't remember.
Well, that
The
wraps it up for
glory of
us.
the Santarans.
All right, well, let's delve into the Santaran experiment.
Santaran experiments. Sorry, let me start over.
Please do.
Transmitting down from Nerva Beacon, the doctors, Sarah Jane and Harry, find themselves on Earth in the far future, long since abandoned by the human race. Soon it becomes clear that they are not alone. A shipwrecked crew of human astronauts are being hunted down one by one. What is the creature that lives in the rocks? And what is the purpose of the lethal tests it is conducting?
Da-na-na.
I'm not done.
Oh.
Can the doctor ensure the safety of the Earth
I give
for
up.
the future generations of humankind?
Da-na-na. It doesn't work now. It's not as
The
exciting.
synopsis is a little... What is the creature? Well, it's kind of in the title.
Good point.
The synopsis is about as long as the episode is.
Yeah, this is a really short
this
episode.
is a shorty.
And watching this out of order is a little disjointed. I didn't...
We did that to you on purpose.
So you
Let me-
watched.
let me-
wait a minute. Whoa.
let
You say
me
out of
preface
order.
this.
You've seen the Santarans in order so far, though, or did you watch Experiment
Oh, yes,
before we or after we watched?
What I'm saying is...
Oh, I guess Two Doctors was out of order.
What was somewhat...
So what? You watched episode 2 before you episode 1? What are you trying to say here?
If you would
Speak!
stop interrupting,
Speak!
I would. I've seen Ark in Space.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The
And then I saw this. And while I kind of remembered some of the stuff from Ark in Space, I wish I could have watched it back to back.
All right, that's right.
That
and you even
would've-
seen Revenge of the Cybermen?
Yeah.
before this as well.
I have
so.
now seen all of the first
And Genesis
of Tom Baker's
and Robot.
season.
You saw everything before
He's,
this.
he's in the entire season.
This was
now.
right in the middle.
I've seen
wasn't
all of Harry's run.
it? Oh, yeah.
Now we
I don't remember
well,
how
no,
Harry-
there's one more.
Oh, okay.
that we haven't got to because he's in Zygons. Actually, that's not true because he's in Zygons and he's in Android Invasion.
Well, then you
With a
guys
break
lied to
in
me
between.
and said he was only in the first season.
He is really only in the first season.
But then you lied to me. He's not only in the first season.
For all intents and purposes, he's really
It
only
does-
in the first season. But yeah,
How long is Zygon and how long is the other one?
Keith, rule 1.
Sean Mize.
Touche.
Yeah, now,
Which I found the very beginning of this interesting in the fact that the Doctor tells them to break one of his rules. I don't know if it's a rule established then, but don't run off. He tells them to
Don't
get
run off.
lost.
Yeah, that's right. He does.
And if he didn't, a lot of that first episode would have been cut out.
Yeah,
Which
it's true.
Once I remembered the Ark in Space overall story, I really appreciated the first episode. But then I really liked the second one. Once we get to dealing with the Sontaran, I really enjoyed that episode. I thought that was really interesting.
this is probably my second favorite Sontaran episode.
Of the classic series?
Of the classic
Yeah,
series.
I would have to
I
agree.
like Time Warrior the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
But this one, even though it's short and it's a bit of nonsense because we've got
Oh, this
Really?
would be,
You
this
like
would be
Time
my
Warrior
third-
better than
third
Invasion at
best.
times?
Yeah.
we'll get there, but I
There's
still have
probably a
issues
reason
considering
why,
Invasion
yeah.
of Time a Sontaran story.
Yeah. Well,
it's a Vorgon or whatever they are.
it's in hindsight. Oh, we'll get there.
Vargon.
Yeah, Varda. The Varda? Not the Vashta
Vardan.
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 Vardan. V-A-R-D-A-N. Vardan.
Vardan. It's a
Vardan.
Vardan story, but we'll get there.
Tinfoil monster story. Oh, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there.
It's a,
Let's keep talking about this one. We're getting ahead of
Time.
ourselves. We're getting to the better episode of the two we're reviewing this one.
no, this was
Yes.
a good episode.
It's okay.
I
And
found it very
and
interesting that
It's
it's
good
just
because
this-
it's contained within two episodes as well. So that
oh
makes
yeah,
it even,
if it were
even
longer,
better.
I wouldn't have
Well,
enjoyed it as much.
it's full of those tropes that, okay, we're going to get captured, we're going to escape, we're going to run around, and then we've got a weird robot roaming the surface of the planet that we've never seen before.
Doesn't seem threatening at all.
No, not so much. But, we've got to deal with that, and
Johnny 5 is more threatening.
Wally was more threatening. But I don't know. I think as a kid, I do remember the mouth antennas,
pincers?
the pincers that kind of
Pincers,
move back
yeah.
and forth. I remember
Yeah.
that being really creepy as a kid, but not so much anymore.
I just looked at it and thought, just bend the spine in half and you won't have a problem.
You know what I do give this episode full credit for? In my illustrious career as a filmmaker, I have always wanted to shoot some sort of film that takes place
In one location?
out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And just completely barren, Flint Hills, for those of you that are familiar with Kansas, somewhere out in that area. And I think this is the episode that makes me want to do that because it feels
It's a
very
great example of it.
Highland, almost kind of,
I think the Flint Hills looks Highlands-ish? Maybe on a dreary day.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, on a
Okay.
dreary day, I
They've got
absolutely think
rocks.
so.
Okay. I'll give you that.
There's a rock. It's not Highlands like Scotland Highlands with the grand green Emerald Isle
you're
to it,
absolutely
but
right.
just the wide open plains and
in fall,
grasslands. And
it looks like Highlands in fall.
yeah, it looks like Highlands in fall.
Okay.
And there's a couple of rocks, but that's why they call them the Flint Hills, Glenn. I forgot. We're talking geography again. You're lost. So, but I credit this episode with a lot of that. I have very, very fond memories of this one from being a kid, and it is. I agree with you that it fits so much better in context. To that whole season.
Well, it's just mostly the first episode because after that, there's a little bit at the end dealing with the humans and going up to the station and everything like that, or them rather not going up to the station. But the fact that this Sontaran is, I didn't quite understand why the Sontaran was on Earth when supposedly none of humanity's there, and why is he there doing tests when he could go elsewhere and do tests? I guess it's isolated. I don't know, but I thought the tests he was doing was rather interesting.
Yeah, he didn't expect to come across a bunch of astronauts and a TARDIS crew either. So I
Yeah,
don't
so, well, then why was he on Earth to perform the tests?
I don't know that he was necessarily on Earth specifically to perform those tests. I think he probably was on Earth, possibly surveying it for the glory of the Sontaran Empire. Maybe we're going to put a base here or something, and then stumbled across this crashed astronaut crew and didn't know what to make of them.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with
the experiments were an offshoot of finding them versus a purpose of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just thought they made reference to some sort of ships crashing, like a menace behind the ships crashing, other than it just happened to crash.
Well, maybe he took advantage of the fact that they were there and brought them down. I don't know. That's immaterial to the fact that the experiment is, here, hold this and see how long you can...
That's what I found so interesting.
How strong are you?
How strong is your mind? Yeah.
He was like the one guy, which he ended up killed by lack of water. The conversation he has to his recorder about how lack of water will kill somebody in 6 days, but it's much more effective to just drown them. So it really brings up the point that it's a fine balance humans walk for survival.
Wow, you took way more out of that than I would have anticipated.
I hadn't thought of it that way until
He's getting all philosophy.
I hadn't gotten that out of it until you just brought that up. But
it was that part that I was like, wow.
Keith sat and watched this by himself one day and analyzed it from top to bottom.
It took a Sontaran to point out how frail humanity is.
Well, we often don't think about how frail humanity is unless we encounter someone
now,
dead.
Are you
died.
really bummed that the Sontarans instill some philosophical thinking in you, but the Cybermen never have?
The Cybermen have. I just haven't expressed it.
Oh, okay. He's waiting for a Cybermen archive too.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I got too serious for you guys.
Somebody has to
show.
bring some philosophy to this show.
I'm kind of at a loss with where to go from there. I really am.
I don't know where to go either.
I think this is one I will own. I enjoyed it a lot.
This will be one I own. Oh, wait, I do own this one. This was one of the ones that I picked up because it was like $11, and I went yes, and then I got it home and that's why it's $11. It's only 2 episodes. But it's got a good Sontaran
is there a good
behind the scenes there
is this
on it as well.
This is the really good documentary
that
I've seen most of. When I purchased it, I watched most of it.
Is this Built for War, a specially produced 39-minute documentary on the genesis and development of the Sontaran race through the history of the series as told by some of the actors and production team involved?
Da-na-na. It is that documentary, and
yeah.
I wish we had watched it, actually.
We probably should have in preparation for this, but I've seen it, but it's been long ago enough that I can't remember much of it. So.
I don't know, maybe in preparation
I
we
do
should
remember
have
them
listened to feedback.
Yeah, well, maybe. I do remember them talking about the...
if ifs and maybes were horses, we'd all be richer.
I do remember them talking about the development of the Sontarans and where they went from there. And I believe that also mentions that the actor that plays the Sontaran in this one is the same actor that plays the Sontaran in Invasion of Time. Or, I'm sorry, the Time Warrior.
Which...
Except he's playing a different Sontaran in this.
Yeah, which there was reference to Time Warrior in this, since this is Sarah Jane's second encounter with the Sontarans.
I did run across... You haven't watched Sarah Jane Adventures Season 2 yet.
No, I haven't.
Because there's one on there called The Last Sontaran, and apparently this event and the Time Warrior are dropped in that as well.
I couldn't start...
Those were Sarah's both encounters with Sontaran, so she talks about that in that episode as well.
Because I couldn't start Season 2 as a Sontaran, or of Sarah Jane, because the Sontaran show up, so I had to wait till we got to next week's episode.
Now you're free.
Because I still haven't seen New Who.
Well,
after Friday.
After we're done with these Sontarans, then you're free.
After Friday, I will be free.
After this Friday, you'll be free to start it.
I totally forgot about that. This was, what was his
that's
name?
how long
Field
ago
Major
it was.
Steyer?
Steyer sounds right.
Steyer.
There's a Star in Steyer.
Star?
Star was the first one, wasn't he?
The first one was like Car. It was
Core?
I thought it was
Score. Score was the first one, wasn't it? Mel yells Scorby for the background. I think it's Score. I think it's who the last one was.
I like Scorby.
Can't remember now. Anyway.
I love the fact that, well, once again, let's go out in the middle of nowhere. What should we dress Sarah Jane in? I don't know. Something easily recognizable, like a gigantic life raft.
Something that says Sarah Jane.
Hey, at least she stayed dry.
That's true.
There's an interesting bit on here. Tom Baker apparently... it's strange how this worked out. Harry Sullivan was initially brought in because they weren't sure if Baker was going to be able to handle all of the action. So his doctor was going to be the doctor, and then Harry would be the action man, kind of like Ian was back in the day, and he would be getting into all the scrapes. Well, after they did Robot, and they kind of realized, oh, Tom can do this. They specifically went into production on the Sontaran experiment expecting the doctor to be able to do all this. In fact, they went so far as to kind of remove Harry from the equation a little bit by having the rock slide, and his ankle got pinned, and so he's kind of out of commission for this. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but Tom Baker wound up spraining and or breaking his arm during the shoot on this.
It was during a fight scene, I believe.
And well, the fight scene at the end that he has with the Sontaran,
Which was a great.
his arm is all up in a sling.
Or a sling, that's right.
And he can't move it, so he fights very stiffly one-armed, then all of the rest of the fight scene is a long shot from across the glale
with his
stunt double. Who's doing all of the fighting in that.
I really enjoyed that in fight.
It was Commander Lynx was in...
Lynx, that was his name. We were still off.
But this actor played both of them.
He's a great actor. He totally...
Well, I think they brought him back because
is he the same one in Invasion of Time?
He is not.
He's not.
He brought no, because this one he had that command of really gruff talking and really sounded like a Sontaran, and then this guy in Invasion of Time was like,
really he was so raspy.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Anyway,
this guy's raspy, but he's not.
No, but it's more
raspy.
but he's talking with.
Yes,
he reminds me more of the new Sontaran.
The new Sontaran
new series.
That's definitely where they modeled him after. Yeah. And they talk about actors who portray aliens and do a lot of makeup work. One of my favorite quotes is from Armin Shimmerman, who for years was yes, I'm working a Star Trek reference, who played Quark on Deep Space Nine.
Bingo.
But he's actually been a Ferengi from day one. In the what was it? The Last Outpost. It's like episode number 7 of Next Gen when they first introduced the Ferengi. He was the leader of that particular group of Ferengi, and every time they brought Ferengi onto the show, he was kind of the guy that wound up playing the captain or the commander or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he has a documentary where he mentions that he's kind of placed his feet in the wet cement of that race. And so the opportunity to play Quark came along, and he really relished the idea of getting into a standard character and being able to really expand on things. And I kind of get the feeling that these guys who do it first, whether it works or not, that's got to be in the back of your mind a little bit. That is this going to wind up being the next
Dalek,
or the next whatever it is? Am I going to be doing this the rest of my life? And in a way, isn't that cool? And maybe not. Maybe they just look at it as a paycheck. But I would think...
Well, I don't know. I think you're right. I think in a way,
it's a little bit of
they
both.
kind of take ownership of the, whether it be the character or the species, and sort of make it their own. I mean, I think there are probably actors out there that do that, and I think there's actors out there that don't, because they don't want to be the guy known as the Ferengi all the time, So,
but this guy, and I wish I knew the actor's name. Maybe you have it pulled up.
I think I do. Hang on.
This guy, to me... Again, since
Kevin Lindsay.
I just saw Time Warrior this year. This was the first time I'd seen this one with you guys. But Sontaran Experiment, that's my first Sontaran episode. That's the first one I ever saw them in as a kid. I thought how cool they were, and then they came back in Invasion of Time and not so much, and they came back in Two Doctors and not so much. And this is the yardstick. This is the Sontaran. Where is this guy at? And really, in my mind, it's not until we get to the new series that we get that quality level of Sontaran back.
I think that's true. Yeah, because the next 2 stories that we see the Sontarans in, it's almost like they sort of deviated from the idea of the Sontarans. They kept the core ideas, but the look and the structure and the style and the way they are portrayed are quite different. So
it's all name dropping later. I mean, we get the whole idea that they're a clone race and they do this and blah blah blah.
Sontarans.
Yeah, but that's where it stops. Whereas this guy. And maybe that's the difference between a lone Sontaran, which is what we had in Time Warrior,
Yes.
where he was crashed and stuck, and then a lone Sontaran on a scientific, mission to do something, versus I've got my crew with me and we're ready to start some crap.
Right.
Well,
Maybe that's where it comes across different.
Look
but-
how awesome the nurse was in Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah, again,
Lone
a lone
Sontaran.
Sontaran.
Which is your only experience
Which was
with the modern-day Sontarans. Yeah. I'd
Well,
forgotten
aside
about
from
that.
the one line they get in the Pandorica opens.
Well, yeah, that's right. He is, in fact, that's the same actor that played. He got to play Sontaran twice too, because that's the
And he
same.
was good,
He's
so-
a different character,
Yeah.
but he's the same actor from
Yeah.
what we'll see next week in Poison Sky and Sontaran Stratagem.
it's easy to do since
You've reversed
it's a
those
clone.
again.
Whatever, people know what I mean.
Strike that, reverse it. Well, anything else about Sontaran Experiment?
No, good little contained episode.
enjoyed
I think
it.
it's a nice. If you watch the season from beginning to end, it's a nice pacer in the middle there.
I bet.
Especially going into something as heavy and as deep as Genesis of the Daleks, which that's right on the heels of this. That's where we go next, and probably a nice way to break the season down so that you probably for them episode wise could pace it out and give them a little bit of a break before we got into a next story, or at least work it so that it works out, episode wise.
Does anybody know the script editor for this season? Is anybody familiar with at all how this was planned out?
Well, it would have been Bob Holmes, so
I mean, as far as did we consciously go into this knowing that we were going to have this really long, overarching story, and we've removed the TARDIS from a good chunk of it because we get one trip at the end of Robot up to Nerva in
Yeah.
Ark in Space, and then we're without TARDIS because we've transmatted down to the planet for this one. The Time Lords hijack the transmit beam for the beginning of Genesis and then send them back into... I mean, I wonder if that was a conscious decision early on to kind of thread this together
might
like
be
that.
because I think, especially since there is such a ongoing continuity thread in there, it probably is something that's outlined at the beginning of the.
It's almost
series,
very
the season.
Second Doctor, since so
Yeah,
many of
it is.
his connected
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
from beginning to
It's a
end.
little bit like they went back to that.
Well, and I
Just more thorough.
I don't know.
And maybe that was a conscious decision, too, coming off of the Pertwee era, that they wanted to try and change it up even a little bit more and maybe,
it's
maybe
very
go back
possible.
to something that was different than what
I don't
had
know.
come
Yeah,
previously.
maybe.
Just curious.
Well, I know that Bob Holmes actually wrote Time Warrior, and then was the script editor on Sontaran Experiment.
Yes.
So
Which was written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin.
that was probably a conscious effort for him to bring the Sontarans back. It was probably Robert Holmes saying, "We want to bring the Sontarans back in here." So that was probably already expected. And then maybe, like you said, they made a conscious effort to make that string work. So I don't know, something to look into.
Well, let's move on to the invasion of time.
Da-na-na.
The Doctor is behaving very oddly. After signing a treaty with enemy aliens, he returns to his home planet Gallifrey and demands the presidency of the High Council of the Time Lords. His first act of rule is to banish Leela to the wastelands on pain of death. His second is to sabotage the planet's defense barriers, enabling full-scale invasion. Why has the Doctor joined forces with the militaristic Vardens? Is he out for revenge against the Time Lords, or does he have a hidden agenda? But his allies are also hiding a dark secret, for behind them is a familiar enemy waiting for the right moment to attack.
Da-na-na.
Wow, that gives a lot of plot, like all the way up to episode 4.
It gives a lot away.
Yeah, it really does.
I really enjoyed this one too. All of the Gallifreyan politics I thought was interesting, even though the Doctor was acting very out of character. I mean, when we watched this for Friday Night Who, it was a quiet night on the Twitter feed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we were all very
Chrissy
engrossed in
and
it.
John Boy and I and Sean, who were tweeting along, were very engrossed, not commenting very much at all. Leela is cementing her place up there with me for companions.
Really.
I think she's such a strong character because she's so brash, she's so take charge, kind of like what I what I see in Sarah Jane almost amplified.
Yeah.
And I
think
like
she's-
that about her.
I think she's very one-dimensional. I think she was always the same character and everything, and never really grew.
Well, maybe
I think
because
she
I've
sort of does in this one.
Now,
but-
you said Horror Fang Rock, you said that you thought Leela had the best
story arc.
She
story
does.
arc for
She
a
does-
character
she
that
does-
she
now
does
listen.
grow.
No, I don't. Okay. That is probably true. I think that what I mean by that is she had from point A to point B, she had the best explanation of her character. She went from one, I guess she had the most learning experience. Does that make sense? She doesn't expand as a character because she's still that type gruff. She's still that type, take action person. When I say grow, I mean like, well, no, I go back to that. I think that she does grow. Maybe I misspoke here. But I think that she never changes in her stance of how she is.
she may grow,
learns
but
as
she
she goes
doesn't
on. And
change
that's,
who she is.
That's what I like is the fact that, she
It's like Jane on Firefly.
she
grows.
turns from being this primitive to understanding the ways, but she never changes as a character in her approach to things. She may look at them differently, but she still was very one-dimensional as far as she charges in here. She's this tough warrior, and she may have gone from not believing in from believing in magic to not believing in magic, but now she's just she stays the same as far as the toughness of her character and the primitiveness and going back, and she may I'm talking myself in
Well, I see. It seems to me that she hasn't let her travels with the Doctor change who she is.
maybe that's what it is. Maybe
Well, even
that's
though
what
she
I'm looking
has.
for.
Well, it changes
she
her
has-
view of things, but
yeah.
She doesn't change as a character, but she changes. Yeah, her views of things change as she goes. I guess that's what I mean. She's very one-dimensional in the fact that she's still the same Leela from beginning to end, but she has changed the way she looks at things. I guess is the difference.
I guess I can see that. Like Rose, for example, obviously changes as a character
Yes.
from the beginning of her travels with the Doctor
and
to
it's
the
obvious
end.
that she changes. Yes,
And we see that, and then, well, we can't go there, but there's
Amy changes.
There's
Martha
development
changes.
there. Martha
Donna
changes. Martha changes a lot from where she starts off with to where she ends. But in a way, I think that's maybe what's refreshing about Leela is that she shows up and you expect her to stick a knife in somebody. And here we are in the last episode.
and she's still ready to stick a knife in
I'm
somebody.
expecting her
Yeah.
to stick a knife in somebody. And I think that's actually very refreshing for her. I think she has a great arc for her character in that because the companion is always our eyes into the TARDIS, and we kind of experience the wonder and the majesty of things. Well, this is almost... We're kind of at a loss at this point as viewers because we've been with the Doctor longer than she has. We kind of know at least some of this stuff, and she didn't know any of it. So all of a sudden, she's the newbie. We get to bring her in and have a completely fresh set of eyes on that. So in a way, I think that's very, very cool.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think the other thing that I have is I think that her and the Doctor had a very good rapport, and the Doctor even comes to a point where he trusts her and knows that she'll figure out. But they don't have the same relationship that you come out of with Sarah Jane, and I think that's a big problem I always have, is that the Doctor and Sarah just really had this connection, this real good, and I think the Doctor and Ace are the same way.
Yeah.
I think the Doctor and Rose, even though there's a different style to it because there's a romantic interest in there as well, they have a really good rapport. They click. The Doctor and Leela, it always felt like the Doctor was the instructor and Leela was the student. And that's what I don't like. That's what I think was very one-dimensional, is that we went, or two-dimensional or whatever I said, one-dimensional, because we go with him continuing to teach her. She never really gets out there where she's still learning. Even when she stumbles across the Gallon Horror of the Fang Rock, and she's talking about, my psychic told me I shouldn't have come on this trip, blah, blah, and she goes, oh, you're shaman. Well, she's relating it to what she understands.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, I used to believe in magic, now I believe in science, which is a fantastic line there. But the problem is that Leela still continues to be the one that says, well, the answer to
this situation is violence. Let's just kill him, take him out. Even right up until the end, when she's on Gallifrey and she runs off into the wilderness, suddenly she clicks and says, "Oh, I know this. This is wilderness." You can tell she's back where she's safe,
back in her
where
element.
she feels right. And so, all of that time in the TARDIS, she never ever got over that instinct of violence, and so it stayed the same. Now, what I meant by it's her character is really the best as far as from A to B is because I feel like you get him picking her up as a primitive, and then you really get her story fleshed out to the point where she leaves and she stays on Gallifrey with what's his name, the head of the
Andred or something.
Andred. And so, yeah, she grows as a character to a point, but it still seems very just like we don't change the things about Leela that you think or you want to be changed about Leela. That I want to be changed about Leela. You in your eyes, that's a refreshing, change. She still sticks to her gun. She's still, you're still expecting her to be, come out and fighting. And
well, especially when
most people with the Doctor, they go from being that type of character to being more like the Doctor, which maybe that's a bad thing, but that's what I like to see is more of a about the time that he dumps him off, it's somebody he can relate to. And Romana's another one, but that's a flaw because they're almost too equal because they're both Time Lords and they're very knowledgeable, and then you've got too many brains on the TARDIS.
Right.
So,
which I also really
Lisa's another one that I think didn't change. It was a very one-dimensional character the whole time she was on the TARDIS. That she was the whiny little girl the whole time.
Well, she wasn't
there.
given anything to do.
Well, that's true.
Again, it was a very full TARDIS in those years, and there's so much that you had. Because Nice is a brain; she's a very intelligent girl, and then you bring in Turlo, who's not dumb. I mean, he piloted his own spaceship to get there, so he knows what he's doing. And
so I think what I was referring to last week is Leela is one of those story arcs. Like Sarah Jane, you can almost come in at any point, any time, and watch her out of order and all this because she's very. I mean, even though she expands, and grows as a character, Leela's one of those people. You can't just jump in and watch a Leela episode because she's the same all the time, which almost lends to the fact that you could. But Leela, in order to appreciate that character, you have to start from point A and go to point B, and then you see the nuances and the changes. You see why now she believes in magic and not, or believes in science and not magic. You understand that character more. That's what I was referring to as we do him a disservice throwing him in the middle of Leela's story because that's one of those ones that you really have to watch from beginning to end in order to catch some of those.
And
that's
yet,
what I meant.
And yet he's. She's already skyrocketed to near the top of his companion.
Yeah, which
list.
is interesting because I mean that's just coming from me.
And some of it is also how
you like Leela a lot.
I've liked Leela for other reasons for a long time.
I think it's also her interactions with K9 and the way she reacts to K9. She really sees him as an actual dog. Some of the way she responds to him is like it's a real dog. Which I
so
think
anyone that treats K9 well, you'll like. You're going to hate Romana too.
When she scolds him and then does
yeah,
she pets him because he's sulking.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Overall, I enjoyed this story. You're kind of in Leela's boat in the beginning of this episode of what's going on with the Doctor. Why is he acting so out of character? And it takes a while to get there, but once it does, it totally makes sense. And it's more Gallifreyan politics that I found interesting.
That was one of the
things. Which I always dog on the politics episodes. I guess if it's a Gallifreyan politics, I find it interesting.
I think coming to this as a newbie or anybody coming to Doctor Who and wanting to learn the history of the Doctor, it's real important to learn the history of Gallifrey and where the Doctor's from. And I think that this and Deadly Assassin do a really good job of filling a lot of the backstory.
Return to Gallifrey since Deadly Assassin.
So this lends to a lot of backstory, and so I think that adds to your development of knowing who the Doctor is, based because you get to see a lot of
where he came from.
I think the other thing that I found was I remember as a kid when I watched this, or young man. I remember this. I remember liking this episode, but liking parts of this episode, and I figured out after the rewatch was that it took a long. It was mired in politics for the first 4 episodes.
Oh, yeah,
and back in the
absolutely.
day, I didn't like that, and I remember that being really dry and long. And then really liking when the Sontarans show up, because then we've got a lot of action, a lot of things going on. And it wasn't until I thought I had forgotten that the Sontarans took so long to show up in this until we were watching it. And the other thing that was really exciting that made this one of my memory favorites, one of the ones that I remembered liking, was the fact that we get a lot of TARDIS interior.
Yeah, a lot of
This is
TARDIS interior.
Finally, after
5
all
and
my
6.
watching of Doctor Who when I was a kid, I got to see other parts of the TARDIS that weren't just, we see the
console room.
swimming pool, or as I pointed out, is part of the bathroom.
Yeah.
We get to see all of these corridors. We see storage rooms. We see, which is completely what you wouldn't think the interior of the TARDIS, parts of the TARDIS are. But obviously, they even fix that by Barusa making the comment about his something's in flux, or I can't remember what the technical comment.
No,
he
it
said.
was why they kept going in the same room over and over.
Right, but I mean,
the reason why was that whatever's in flux.
Yes, but it gives the idea that the TARDIS can be manipulated and changed, and so it excuses the Peter Davison era from being walls more like the console room and the rooms looking very clean and white and pretty and techy. And so it's because, as goes all the way up to Time Crash, where the Doctor tells
You
10,
changed the desktop.
you change the desktop. And then it goes so far as with the Doctor's wife to even go further to explain that, it's really based on a matrix within the TARDIS as to what the rest of the TARDIS looks like, and that taste is based on the Doctor. So you get the impression that perhaps 4 was just a little more industrial.
Yeah, which I totally
that was
got
the
that
look that
impression.
he wanted.
I could totally see him being having a more industrial
But
taste.
I don't even think it was industrial. I think it was just the fact that it was random.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, it's probably
There's
the randomness. Of
there's
it,
a really,
yes.
really scientific looking room somewhere else that we just didn't get to in this episode.
That's
And then
right.
There's
That's right.
the wine
well, the
cellar,
workshop
and then
is even so, just
You mean the costume shop?
workshoppy. He keeps saying that. I
was
saw
the
one
costume.
apron. Can't talk.
I've been in
Apron,
costume shop.
and that
There
was
you
the
go.
only I ever saw in there. Everything looked like cubby holes for tools.
I'm sorry, I look like cubby holes for hats.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was the costume shop at the BBC.
That's totally what it looked like.
But this
to me.
really feels like they wrote 4 episodes and then they wrote a 2-episode Sontaran
almost
arc. So,
but I mean, I can.
written by,
David Agnew.
but it really wasn't.
But it really wasn't.
Graham Williams and Anthony Reed wrote this, and that David Agnew was a pseudonym, or it'd be pseudonym in that case, a pen name that they frequently used at the BBC when they didn't name the person that was writing it. So,
Hey, this had optional CGI effects.
we didn't watch the optional CGI, or did we watch the
We
optional?
did not watch
We
the
did not
optional.
watch
It
that.
was all original.
Was this the?
I wonder what the optional
is
would have
this
been
a
like.
special? Is this a special edition? Time Warrior special edition? It is not, or not. I keep saying Time Warrior. I keep mixing
Invasion
the
of
names. Invasion
Time.
of Time. They both have time in them, and both have Sontarans. So it's
I
confusing.
enjoyed the Sontaran aspect. I enjoyed the political aspect.
I
of
did
it.
too, and I much more appreciated the political aspect. of
I
it.
think I'd probably, along
Gallifreyan
with
politics.
I think I would need to own this along with Deadly Assassin.
Really?
Yeah.
This pleases me.
These almost are quasi sequels to each other because
Yeah,
there's
they
so
really
much that happens from one to the other, and then even I would go so far to say that as far as this could be considered the Gallifreyan trilogy.
Ooh.
It could be this one. It could be Deadly Assassin, Invasion of Time, and the Five Doctors, because
I could see that.
there's
I
so
could
much
definitely see
politics
that.
there going on as well, and we've got
some
Barusa and a
returning
new
characters.
Barusa and a new regeneration, and so we've got that return. We've got the what's the area that we talked about in the
Panopticon.
The Panopticon, comes over from Deadly Assassin. So they really bridge each other really
Yeah,
well.
they
I think
really
you could
do.
put these in a
And
box
the
set together.
Castellan is back.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Five Doctors.
We talk about the sash,
Which was, I got the
Rassilon
impression it
and
was a position, not a person.
Oh, I have seen this, Sean.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that.
You were
actually.
talking about the different modes. My cousin sent me that.
Well, yes, no, and this. I think now they have cemented this idea.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, at least in broad strokes, that this is probably most, or this is where this comes from. But I think this is
the inside of the
you know,
TARDIS.
back in Classic Who, they don't lay a lot of that stuff out. So that's kind of what you assume by the way they talk about things.
Right.
That's how that works.
We'll post the link on the website. My cousin
Yeah.
sent me a graphic that somebody has put together that's kind of interpreting this different
how the TARDIS works.
spheres of how the TARDIS interiors would work.
Yes.
Which I thought was appropriate to bring up since we were discussing this.
Absolutely.
And have we talked about new TARDIS interiors?
New TARDIS appears.
New TARDIS interiors. At this point, we hadn't seen any of this.
Oh, you mean new in the aspect to the viewer? Okay, I got you. Because they don't look that new. These Type 40s, you know. They.
And then I like the goodbye to Leela. The fact that she decides to stay. A very Susan send-off in a way, except she chooses.
Yeah, it's kind of a role
a Susan
reversal there,
reversal.
Yeah.
And then the fact that K9's he likes Mist, and maybe that's why Leela jumped up there a bit more, because K9 likes Leela enough to stay with Mistress instead of go with Master. And then he pulls out Mark II. So
Yeah. Well, I think K9 had some foreknowledge to the fact that the Doctor wasn't going off alone. I get this impression that he knew that the Doctor would be okay,
That he
just
had
because he says
another.
doesn't K9 say something that sort of lends to.
Oh, he's like, you're always okay, or you'll never be alone, or something.
Yeah, I thought he said you'll never be alone, or something to that effect.
Oh, I think
That's
he-
why when
I
he
think
pulls
he
the
knows-
box out, I thought,
The last thing that she says is, "Will he be all right, K9?" And K9 says, "Unknown or insufficient information," and that's why they
"Oh,
both
he
bow
does
their
say
heads.
that. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He does say that. I forgot about that."
But we know the Doctor, and so we know he'll be okay, and he won't be alone for very long.
That's true.
That was the fun thing with this episode is you go into it thinking that you know the Doctor, and
Yeah.
then there's all this. He's not just behaving oddly;
I
he's
didn't-
behaving oddly.
The only thing I didn't like about it was the hard reset at the end of he doesn't remember any of it. I didn't like that. I wish, because this would have been a great growing experience for the Doctor, and they just reset him back to as if none of this happened.
I think the problem that they saw here is they decided that the Doctor had. This is his second time that he's been injected in the Matrix, and now by putting this on and making him High President, the Matrix has also given him more knowledge
Than he
than
should
I
have.
think. Well, not that maybe that he should have, but maybe that he should have as a rogue Time Lord.
Yeah.
And so I think this was their way of, we've, RTD'd this thing and made it so grand, we have to figure out a way to make it, the Doctor.
We've got to return to the status quo.
There you
we
go,
can't
returning
send
to the
him
status
off into
quo.
the
Yeah.
universe.
With
And,
this
and,
knowledge.
and quite honestly, Barusa wouldn't let him have gone. If he remembered how to create the D-gun,
Yes.
Barusa wouldn't have let him off Gallifrey.
Yes. And I think that was portrayed really well in the relief that Barusa has.
Yeah.
In fact, he's very, very giddy and pleasured, and he's getting a lot of joy from the fact that, he doesn't remember any of this. So this is fantastic.
Let's talk about Barusa and how much he rocks, because I love Barusa.
He was
in this
a great
episode.
character.
I get very frustrated going back, and I'd forgotten that he drops out of it for 2 or 3 episodes there in the middle, that he's confined to his quarters.
Yeah.
But the actor that plays him is just fantastic. And I remember being so disappointed in the Five Doctors when the guy walks into the room and they're like, President Barusa, and I went, oh, because I remember Barusa. Barusa was cool. And then it's this other guy, and they're like, your regeneration has not helped you. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
not the same. And then on top of that, he turns out to be the bad guy. So it was and how much of Five Doctors Barusa is due to this? The Doctor leaves, everything's been set, and now all of a sudden the seeds are there. He found the key. He knew what was up. He knew this. there's more that could be to this story. This to me plants all of the seeds for Barussa's downfall.
I think
can
that's
see that.
yeah, I can see that as well. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You-
Of course,
you-
Barussa knew where the key was. He just could
Right.
never. He would never obtain the sash or the crown or the. There was 3 parts. Rod. That was the other one. Their staff. Rod.
The rod.
Rod.
The rod.
In the Matrix.
And the Matrix, right? Putting the crown on his head.
But I think this really, the Doctor being the Doctor and being able to walk into this and get away with it, even though, okay, we blanked his memory at the end of it, but the fact that he was plugged into the Matrix, he did have all that power, and he was able to pull all this stuff off, I think planted the seed for Barussa to think that there's more work that needs to be done, and I need to be able to hunt down that immortality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just it really comes across, I think, in this one. I feel bad that the Castellan is such a weasel. I forgot a lot.
It's a good character.
I mean,
it's a good
he
balance
is.
in this story, and I think it works really well.
But he goes from being so in awe, terrified of what's going on, to obedient lackey.
Oh yeah, he's such a lapdog.
he changes his stripes with every situation that
Yeah.
it is called for, and he works it well. He knows how to work the system. So.
He's a survivor, that's
yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
And the other thing with the politics on Gallifrey, I'd kind of forgotten how loathsome the Time Lords really are. I mean, that sounds bad, because just Time Lord has this very regal, and the Doctor's a Time Lord, so obviously they should all be cool, right? But then we get these episodes where they go back to Gallifrey, and it's like, no wonder he left.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are horrible individuals.
And then the fact that one of the natives, quote unquote, that Leela encounters outside says he used to be a Time Lord.
Yeah.
And he defected.
Yeah.
Instead of stealing a TARDIS, he just went to the wilderness.
That, I think, is a really interesting
That
setup,
that would
too.
be a great thing that they could have explored. Unfortunately, with the Time War, I don't think we'll ever get to.
Yeah, I mean once the Time War started, are the Gallifreyans, who are not Time Lords, were they called back into service and decided to fight, or did they evacuate the planet, or did they just get killed? Were they innocent bystanders that
I'd like to see a write off where they ran and they didn't, and the Doctor's not aware of the fact that they did get off planet, because that kind of lends to the fact that there are other Time Lords out there as well. Probably not as advanced, because they've kind of reverted to more primitive roots. But I think the other interesting thing about this is you talked about where they recruited. I think that based on the fact that Leela, they were so ready to follow Leela back in to
Fight?
to stave off this invasion of the Sontarans. I think that led me to believe that they probably
would.
came back and helped when the Daleks, with the war with the Daleks came around. So
Yeah.
I think that
So it seems to me that
they were probably all wiped out.
Gallifrey's pretty easy to invade.
Well, only if you make a big donut hole in the top of it.
Obviously, the Daleks made it in somehow. We don't know how, but that's 2 different species
Yeah.
made it into
3.
Oh yeah, technically
the
3.
Vadans,
Vardans.
Vardans.
3 different species made it into.
That's right.
That's like having a Sith and as Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous
That could
idea.
never happen.
Did anybody feel cheated that we get the TARDIS? This is the funny thing: the TARDIS interiors being wine cellars and warehouses and prop departments. That didn't bother me at all.
Spas.
Yeah, spa. That didn't bother me at all. The Gallifrey
Always?
defense barriers
Being these big industrial...
being,
yeah.
looking like every other industrial basement
Yeah.
of a high-rise building.
It looked like, what was the building that, was it a nuclear plant, or what was it where they were in Hand of Fear? Where
that was a nuclear plant.
That's what it kind of...
The nuclear plant actually even looked much more sophisticated
Well,
than this.
yeah.
I mean, quite
And that was years
honestly.
before, sadly.
That to me is like we had that one really long hallway that they built for this that was all, and I'm. What's up with the Gallifreyan architecture? Let's talk about that hallway.
Yeah, not a very well designed.
Who puts big slanty things that come down and narrow the path to like this wide.
Well, did you get the
and then put a trash can in the middle of it? So
they
that you have
kind of have that half octagonal look, or a hectagonal look, that almost is the hallways in the 11th Doctor TARDIS. It's almost half of that.
Yeah.
And it almost felt less foreign this time that I saw it because the interior of Matt Smith's TARDIS looks
It's
that
still
way
not
in
super
the hallways.
logical.
And it's not logical, but it almost made these hallways fit better within the. And we still have what's the name of the
hexagonal.
what's the name of the area?
The area.
The area
the
that was-
Panopticon.
The Panoptica. They all have that. Always
Panopticon.
has Panopticon. That always has this like mathematical sound to me, and so hexagonal, always works. I mean, it fits
Well,
in.
and the Panopticon's a big
Right, and it is a
hexagonal
hectagonal.
shape,
So
hectagonal. Whatever it is.
Hexagon.
It's got
Hexagon.
5 sides.
No, it doesn't. That's a
Six?
pentagon.
That'd be it's definitely 6
It's
because
got
they're
6
equal
sides.
sides. Yeah,
It's a hexagon. Hexagonal.
1, 2, 3. It's one of these.
We're going to get one of these. Phil's going to come on and say, your talk of mathematics and geography
That's
and
not
geometry.
That's just he'll get after us for that. Chris, he'll get after us for what this is called.
But
Hexagon.
it's a great hallway. It looks really cool, but it's just there's that big slanting I-beam that comes down into the middle of the room to give it that hexagonal look. And then there's a trash can right next to it. And the guards are all running around and they have to kind of jump over one, and it's like, who designed this? Who put this here?
But yet the Sontarans
Well, they
can
hadn't
walk
been
through the
invaded.
hallway just fine.
They hadn't been invaded for so long that they got lazy.
Oh, and the chairs.
Way
The-
down
the
low.
way-
Oh yeah, the
low-
really
The really low little
chairs.
people chairs. What was up with
I
that?
guess the Time Lords don't sit much.
It's for the recent regenerations. When they regenerate as a young kid.
It looked like the nurse's office.
Yeah, it really did at school.
It was a
yeah.
kindergarten nurse's office that they were. And no, they couldn't sit in those chairs. You've seen their robes. There's no way they're going to get all the way down on the floor in those.
Maybe that's why they're just sitting everywhere, and you don't ever see Time Lords sit because
They just
they
stand.
just don't sit
They stand
anymore.
everywhere.
Although Bruce's chair was
It wasn't that low.
Well, Barusa's made sense.
it was this nice throne-looking chair,
Yeah.
in his office. So
He also had designer robes that made much more sense when he had to run across the Panopticon
that's right,
floor.
he did. Of course, he's a cardinal, so
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it's Cardinal.
and very cardinal looking.
it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
his outfit
that was
did.
a cool play there.
So far, Gallifreyan is a very interesting combination of Catholicism and politics, in my mind.
Yeah, well, and very much so, especially with the music.
Catholicism is mired in politics as
yeah,
well. So
true.
Well, especially with the music, because we get all the great organ cues anytime there's a ceremony or
sounds
something.
very ceremonial.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of the architecture, I have to point out that I absolutely love the president's office after it gets redecorated.
With all the lead gears.
The lead gears. I just
That is pretty cool.
that was the coolest room I thought as a kid, and I want wallpaper that looks like that, and I want to do my office to look like that with actual relief.
I got to ask you, when they finally dropped the name of the material that he had been talking about, because they were talking in
Code.
technical terms and then gold
Code.
code, yeah. Well, it wasn't even code. It was more like technical terms of what it would have been, what they were relating Earth terms to in Gallifreyan, and then when he finally drops what it's called on Earth, did you figure out from there why he was
Not until they explained it.
good?
Really.
Because the first time I saw it, granted I was much younger, but yeah, it totally went over my head. And even after I found out that it was lead, and it wasn't until he went in there and they talked about it dampening the something that
Until they explained that they were telepathic, I was like, oh, that's why the lead.
yeah. But it seemed real obvious to me this time. But obviously because I'd seen it before. But
Well,
I wondered if somebody older, I guess is what I was looking at, because I was young at the time. It went over my head, but I was wondering,
Yeah.
coming from somebody older, that might have been able to reason that out. I'm glad it's still a surprise that it works. well.
Just because I didn't know that I kind of suspected there was some kind of mind control, and then honestly, I'd almost forgotten about the room by the time he mentions it
the
again.
way the doctor's acting.
Well, because he doesn't get to hang out in it very often.
Oh, yeah.
They,
Right,
they go in and they leave, and then they come back to it, and then it's done. But
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way the
And
doctor's
there's one
acting,
reference in between there, so
the way the doctor's acting, and you see him sometimes looking or acting very normal, and then sometimes he's acting very dictatorial or presidential, and I didn't know if maybe you were gathering the fact that these guys may be able to read his thoughts even before
It totally
they
makes sense now.
Yeah, it does, and it should if you've seen it. But I was hoping that
Yeah,
wasn't too transparent.
I didn't think it was at all.
I wonder if that also gives us the benefit. This was 1978 when this one came out. I'm wondering if, since Superman was released in '79 and we had the lead box, if that gives us an added benefit.
Lead's been around in the comic books of Superman though for a long time.
Well, but it's a
Kryptonite
good
couldn't,
shielding now.
He couldn't see kryptonite through lead.
Right.
Or he couldn't see anything through
Well, he
lead.
couldn't
I
see anything
suppose,
through
yeah.
lead, but-
That's been around for a while.
But visually, I mean.
Yeah.
So, have we talked about the TARDIS interiors?
Yes, we've talked about the TARDIS.
Quite a bit.
We haven't talked much about the clumsy Sontarans.
Yeah, the Sontarans were a little undesirable in this.
What we haven't talked about is the
It's the Sontaran
horrible,
archive. We should probably talk about the Sontarans.
the horrible progression of the
their
Sontaran
facial-
look. Oh my gosh!
As if the look in Invasion of Time wasn't bad enough, or not. Sontaran Experiment wasn't bad enough. Invasion of Time, they look even worse.
Yeah, they just the design really
I mean, you
really
can
went downhill.
You
from
can
the
almost
beginning.
see the direction that the new Sontarans take with off of Sontaran Experiments and improving on it.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to develop it and then make it look better the next time around. And I mentioned this to Glenn. I think you went out for a puff afterwards. It was like, what happened? What happened to the Sontarans? This is the only science fiction-y race of aliens that I can think of off the top of my head that get worse with each appearance. They're supposed to get better, and up until the new series, they don't.
No,
they've
that's
just gotten
absolutely
more and more ridiculous looking. And I mean, looking at this picture, I've got Time Warrior here. He is not orange.
No, he's not. He looks more like a potato.
He looks like a potato, which is why we made all those jokes. And then all of a sudden, they've all turned orange.
Yeah.
And they keep getting more orange as the show goes on, until you get to the two doctors, and it's like
Well,
they're
that's
sweet
the-
potatoes now.
something that we're not talking about because
We
I
haven't-
failed to get you guys the resources you needed to watch this. Is we had talked about doing Shakedown this week, and we didn't get to it. In fact, it seems like every archive we have somebody that doesn't get to watch something, and this time I've seen it, but I didn't get it to you guys to watch it, so I followed down on it this time.
Davros, watched.
That's true. We did get all through all those, but
All seven.
the thing is, they're even much more orange in that. But then I talked about the reason why is because they didn't really secure the rights to the look of the Sontarans for Shakedown.
I'm sorry, there's not at this point. There's not a constant look, except
But they
for
could
the
use
armor.
the name, and so they decided, in order to make it different enough that they weren't infringing on any rights, they changed the color of the Sontarans, which they're much more orange in this one, so in Shakedown. So, but we're going to visit Shakedown again next week. We're going to try again
Hopefully.
and do that. So,
But yeah, I don't understand why they. This is just one of those things you expect improvement, and they didn't get there.
It doesn't happen.
They still lumber, which at least that part of it they got right. I don't think the actor who played the lead Sontaran.
They didn't sound like Sontarans the entire
Yeah,
time.
they didn't have quite a grasp of the linguistics needed to really pull that off.
They were more like this, and we're gonna talk like this.
that was pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
That to me sounds Sontaran more than this guy did. Actually,
I guess I hear the booming, rough voice of a Sontaran more than the raspy, I can't talk through this mask. Because that's what it sounded like. He couldn't project well enough out of the mask because it was so constricting or something.
can you say you're Batman?
I'm Batman. He was totally Christian Bale in it.
Watch out, Christian Bale. We've got a replacement for you. So then, my favorite moment ever is got to be down in the bathroom.
Are you talking about a certain lawn chair?
I'm talking about a certain lawn chair.
That lawn chair scene is great.
You've got to get all the way to episode 6 before you get there. But the Sontaran thinking to leap into action, leaps into action, and lands square on a chaise lounge.
Finds his mortal enemy
And the dude goes down.
hard.
He just tumbles over. And this is a very unforgiving costume. I feel bad for anybody who has to put stuff like this on. And then, I'm sure it was 6 hours of makeup to get the potato head on and deal with all that. And then to put the armor and everything else on top of it and walk around in these boots. And this guy just, ha-ha, and he leaps at, I don't even remember who it was that was running away.
It was the doctor.
Was it the doctor?
Yeah.
He leaps at him, and he lands square on this chair, and he almost bounces off of it and falls down and then tumbles down the stairs.
And then the doctor, as a defense, throws another
He
chair
throws
at him.
another chair at him. So,
Well, the first chair took him down. The second chair scared him a lot.
Whoa, chair.
well, I'm sure the actor, as he tumbled down the slight recline there into toward the pool, was thinking,
Oh no, oh no, oh no.
how heavy is this? Am I going to sink to the bottom before the BBC can winch me back up? And how mad will they be that I've ruined the makeup job?
Will I still get paid if I fall into the pool?
Because you got to imagine with that mask on, man, the water would just pour into those eye sockets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That would be horrible.
Foam rubber full of pool water. That's the next T-shirt idea. Is in case of Sontaran attack, break glass, and it's a lawn chair
Yeah.
in the case. I'd forgotten about that, quite honestly.
Yeah, I
That was
did
great.
too
I
until
really
it happened.
And then it happened. It was like, oh yeah, best moment ever. And that honestly, that's right up there with the chick karate kicking the Merca. Great idea.
I don't know if it was
didn't
that
quite
good.
make it.
Here's a shakedown sometime, by the way.
Well, they're very well. At least they tried, though.
Yeah, no, they're more groovy and their
See,
faces are a little
It's like
different.
if the Klingon and the Sontaran have.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like a hybrid there.
We lay off the Klingons.
The Sontarans are the Klingons of Doctor Who. Admit it. All they
No.
care about is war.
Well, they're bred for war.
So are Klingons.
No, Klingons fight for
Honor.
No. That's different. I'm not even going to have this discussion with you because it's just not. It's not there. I will prepare a very lengthy dissertation at some point to prove you wrong.
Post it on the website.
I'll post it on the website, but I'm not going to do it now.
Oh, Potato Head Creations appear again in a spinoff once again penned by Terrence Dicks called Mind Game. We'll have to get a hold of that one.
Well, maybe we
More
could do,
Sontarans, they actually
maybe,
look
maybe
more
we
like
should wait
Sontarans.
then. And
Yeah,
maybe
we should wait and do
two
them together.
Sontaran spinoffs. Yeah.
Just like we had the two.
That could be our
Dalek
other
spin-offs.
Sontaran archive
Our
because
Sontaran archive
we've
too.
only got one on here. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, then that's
There
official.
you go. It's official. We're going to do. We're going to try to get a hold of Mind Game, and we'll do those Sontaran
Oh, keep for the
episodes.
schedule.
as
Write
the-
that down.
Yeah, that's right. Very
Anything
good.
else
I'm glad
about
I
these
stumbled
two
across
episodes? Or you think we
I don't think so.
I
I think
could go
we've
on about
covered it.
Invasion of
Yeah,
Time forever,
you could,
but-
Sean.
should go on about all of them forever?
go on.
No,
about
this
a
is,
lot of
just,
stuff.
this is just. There are certain of them I can't. This is just a great episode.
It is good. It
It's
is.
fun.
I absolutely love
liked
this
it.
episode.
Everything about it is, we get the really weird stuff at the beginning, like you
Here
commented,
it is.
the four-parter. Yeah, that thing. We get the four
Hexagon.
parts, and then the Sontarans show up, and
Yeah.
the Vardar and whatever they were I think, ultimately a very disappointing villain.
I think they are because when they
But-
materialize and they're humanoid, it's like,
They look just straight up human.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
I mean, they look
Even
like
one of the Time
they-
Lords says they're humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's almost like the scariness of them just really knocked down a couple of
Although
notches when you get to see them.
The crinkling aluminum foil wasn't very threatening either.
Well, not very threatening, but still mysterious enough that you're like, what
was
can they really
threatening
do?
about them was the fact that they were getting the Doctor to do.
Yes,
all this
yes.
stuff.
No, absolutely.
I've signed so many things in my life. What's one more?
What's one more? And then he takes the pen.
Yeah, he steals the pen.
He starts to set it down and puts it in his pocket. That was great. Anyway, well, what's coming up next week, Sean? Since we don't have Shakedown now on the
Well,
schedule.
now for those of you that were expecting us to cover Shakedown, we didn't get to it.
Well, this will give you more time to get a hold of a copy of Shakedown.
But, yeah.
maybe to go to your local library or used video store and see if you can get a copy.
I don't know. Has it ever been released on?
I was on VHS, I believe. I don't know if it was
If
in the
you
United
still have a
States.
VCR,
It might have been released in the United States. It may even be on DVD. I haven't gone out that far.
If you can procure a copy,
procure a copy.
we will be discussing that at some point in time.
So you got plenty of time to procure,
Plenty of time.
and
We're-
maybe they
Mind
will
Game.
release it.
We're going to bump that, and we'll do that in Mind Game at some
Yes,
point in time down the road. But next week, we've got...
Maybe by then I'll have been able to read the Virgin New Adventure, too.
About the time you finish
together.
Cyberman Bob, we'll
Yeah,
look
well,
into-
yeah, I got to get that out of the way.
So with Friday Night Who this week, we've got more Sontarans on docket for you. We've got the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. We're going to do a two-parter, back to David Tennant, back to Season 4. We'll knock those two out for our Friday Night Who this week. And then next week's show, we'll be doing Planet of the Ood and the Sontaran Stratagem and Poison Sky.
Can we bring our
discussion
really
topic.
cool oods that I finally got mine?
I am
up?
gonna watch. We should tell everyone. We mentioned the oods.
We did. We
all
talked
of our
about the
oods have names.
Knit oods. They do have names.
Mine is Bood. Glenn's is Tood.
Tood. Okay.
Mel's is Nude. And what's yours, Sean?
I don't remember.
Howard.
Oh, yeah, Howard.
That's what I was told Friday when I got mine.
Howard the
It
Ood.
was Tood, Ood,
Nude and Howard.
Nude, and Howard. It's like Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde on Pac-Man.
So
We
I
don't have photos of the Oods up yet, do
You
we?
tweeted one.
I tweeted one, but we don't have anything posted.
Well, you still haven't taken another shot of the new editions over here either, so.
Well, because once he gets started, he won't stop.
There'll be pictures all over the
It's
website.
like, why don't you take some pictures of the shrine there? And then he gets just the top shelf. And it's like, okay. let's
Maybe
look
we'll
at
get the Oods together.
That is the shrine.
Maybe we'll get the
This
Oods
is
together
the
next
addendum.
week, and we'll put them
that. If it
together.
wasn't for this, there wouldn't be that.
We'll put them together and get a picture for Planet of the Ood, and that can be our
Oh, there we go.
our picture for the week. So
Our Planet of the Oods.
Planet of the Oods.
Well, I was planning. Mine's currently in my bedroom. I'm going to bring him out to watch Planet of the Ood.
Mine sat with me as we watched, even though it wasn't an Ood episode, with Invasion of Time. So.
Yeah.
But I had just got mine Friday, so that's why he sat with me. Anyway, that going to do it for this week. Then we told them what we're doing next week.
We told him what we're doing next week. And then, once again, the week after that is Chicago TARDIS.
Right.
So if anybody's going to Chicago TARDIS and would like to act as a on-the-spot correspondent for Traveling the Vortex,
We're willing to take anything.
frog on the street,
If you can get some sound while you're there for us, we like to do liners and bumpers, of course.
That would be
something as
really
simple
awesome.
as an actor or actress or someone involved in Doctor Who saying, "You're listening to I'm so and so, and you're listening to Traveling the Vortex." We also want to hear from you if you would like to send feedback about
your
Chicago
experience.
TARDIS. That would be fantastic. If you want to do some stuff, if you're there that weekend and you have the ability to send us files, we will try to get those posted on Traveling the Vortex as short stops. And then what we'll do is we'll put something together for the week as well. Again, anybody is welcome to send us information, feedback about Chicago TARDIS if they're going.
Even if
And,
if you can't send audio, even shoot us an email about
yeah,
what's going on.
Absolutely,
That would be awesome.
we'd love to read that out. We do have Dr. Phil. He is going this year, we believe, and
haven't
he
heard
is going
otherwise.
to try to do something for us. But that's not to say that if there are other people going, we won't include anybody that would like to put
As much
audio
as we
in.
can.
Give us just what's going on there, what you did, what your favorite things were, who you talked to. If you talk to somebody, you want to interview somebody, and you want an avenue to put that interview out there, we're certainly willing to take it. I'm sure there are a lot of other
Or if you want an
podcasts that are
excuse
looking
to
for.
go talk to somebody.
That's right. There you go. Just tell them you're a correspondent for Traveling the Vortex, and that you now don't embarrass yourself and embarrass us, but
Don't do anything
make us
we
look
wouldn't
good.
do.
Well, that opens it way up. No, but
Too
in all
late.
seriousness, we would absolutely love our listeners to turn something in for us and act as a correspondent for Traveling the Vortex. Just give us a heads up if you're going to be there, and we can touch
Chrissy,
base with you.
you do know who's at Chicago TARDIS this year, right?
She didn't even make it to Gallifrey, I don't think, last year, and he was even closer then. So
Yeah.
All three of them.
yeah, that's all right.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Until next week,
I'm
Glenn.
Keith.
Wait! You can mess this up every week.
On purpose.
3 weeks in a row now. He's done it on purpose.
He's Mr.
This isn't
Interruptus
even-
now.
I'm being Mr. Interruptus.
All
Ready,
right,
goodbye.
let's try this again. That's going to do it for us this week. Until next time, I'm Keith. Wait a minute. Dang it. See? You even messed me up there.
I'm in your head.
Wait a minute. Do that again.
I'm in your head.
You notice I have to do the hand motions. Noise.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
If it hadn't been for Sean's laugh, we'd have pulled it off.
She said, I'm Mel in the background. Did you not hear her?
I didn't hear
You
her.
said, I'm Glenn. She said, I'm Mel.
Mel, we're going to get a mic and make you join in now. Good night. You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.